The cold wind cut through the night like a blade, whistling past the cracked walls of the old Ridgeview Veterans Hospital. Most of the windows were sealed shut with decades of rust and silence. It was supposed to be empty, condemned, forgotten by the world. But that night, something was very wrong. A K-9 unit named Bear, a 5-year-old German shepherd with a military service badge still dangling from his collar, stood at the hospital's decaying perimeter, fur bristling, eyes locked on a crumbling wall. He had been quiet the entire drive over, calm during patrol, obedient as always. But the moment they passed the western wing of the building, Bear lost control. He lunged at the wall. Growling. Barking. Digging at the overgrown weeds and ivy-covered bricks like his life depended on it. Officer Dana Brooks had never seen him like this before. Bear was trained to detect danger, trauma, life, or death. And something behind that wall was screaming for help. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unbreakable loyalty of animals like Bear, please take a moment to like this video, leave a comment, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to our channel, Justice on Paws. Every act of support helps us bring you more real stories that touch the soul. Officer Dana Brooks was a 28-year-old patrol officer who had lost more than she let on. She had joined the force after serving as a combat medic overseas. Trauma, blood, and grief were old companions. Bear had been her partner for 2 years now, ever since she adopted him from the K-9 unit after his former handler, Sergeant Matthews, had died in a roadside bombing in Afghanistan. Bear had been there. He had dragged Matthews out of the wreckage, laid across his chest until help arrived. But the man didn't make it. The dog did. Since then, Bear had never truly settled. He did his job, but sometimes at night, Dana would find him pacing the hallway, whining softly in his sleep, like chasing ghosts he couldn't forget. That night, as Bear scratched furiously at the moss-covered bricks, Dana felt her heart racing. There was no logical reason for his outburst. The building was sealed, disconnected from the grid, empty for over 12 years. She shone her flashlight across the wall, searching for cracks, signs of recent entry, or anything to explain Bear's madness. Nothing. Just bricks and decay. But Bear wouldn't stop. His paws bled, his claws scraped raw. Then, suddenly, Dana heard it, faint, muffled, like a thud from behind the wall. Once. Then again. Her blood ran cold. She called for backup. When the fire crew arrived an hour later, they drilled into the brick at the exact spot Bear had been digging. Dust filled the air. Bear was now whining, pacing frantically, circling back, urging them forward. And then came the moment that left everyone breathless. The wall gave way, revealing a rusted metal door sealed shut from the outside. No one had known it existed. No blueprints, no records. A secret wing buried in the annals of the hospital's past. And behind that door, muffled cries, human cries. The door creaked open with a sound that sent chills down everyone's spine. Inside was a narrow hallway, untouched by time, with flickering emergency lights that hadn't seen power in over a decade. The smell of mildew and rot was suffocating. Bear bolted in without hesitation, turning corners as if he already knew the path. Dana and the others followed close behind, their boots splashing in the inches of stagnant water that had pooled on the floor. At the end of the hallway, they found a metal room with bars across the window, like a prison cell. And inside, huddled under a pile of old sheets, was a man, alive, shaking, barely able to lift his head. His name was Walter Graves, a decorated Vietnam veteran who had gone missing 16 years ago after being diagnosed with severe PTSD. The story that unfolded was the kind of thing no one wanted to believe. Walter had been a long-term patient at Ridgeview before it was shut down. With no family, no voice to advocate for him, he had fallen through the cracks, forgotten during the hospital's chaotic closure. According to hospital logs, he had been transferred. But that was a lie. Somehow, someone had left him behind, locked in that hidden psychiatric wing, surviving on rainwater, rats, and sheer will. What kept him alive all these years wasn't just instinct, it was hope. Hope that someone would hear him someday. Bear did. The city exploded with headlines the next morning. Hero K-9 discovers forgotten war veteran. Dana found herself flooded with reporters, news vans, and cameras. But none of that mattered. What mattered was Walter, alive, blinking into the sunlight for the first time in years, and the way Bear sat at his feet, tail wagging gently, as if welcoming home a long-lost brother. The bond between them was instant. Walter, who hadn't spoken in over a decade, reached out and touched Bear's scarred fur. And then, in a raspy, broken voice, he whispered, "Matthews." Everyone froze. Walter wasn't confused. In his mind, the last face he saw before the door slammed shut 16 years ago was Sergeant Matthews, and the dog that never left his side. Bear had remembered. Somehow, someway, Bear had known. Whether it was scent, instinct, or something deeper, Bear had led Dana to a place no human ever would have found. Recovery for Walter was slow, but miraculous. He was placed in a veterans' home where he received the care he should have had long ago. Dana visited often, always bringing Bear. The old man and the dog became inseparable. And for the first time in years, Dana noticed something in Bear's eyes she hadn't seen since she met him: peace. He stopped pacing at night. He stopped whining in his sleep. It was as if the ghost that had haunted him finally found rest. For Dana, it changed everything. She started a foundation, Justice on Paws, dedicated to pairing retired service dogs with veterans and those suffering from trauma. Because she now knew, without question, that dogs like Bear weren't just companions. They were healers. Guardians. Messengers of something far greater than instinct. Something like purpose. Something like grace. And every time she walked into Walter's room and saw him sitting with Bear by his feet, she felt something deep in her chest shift. Grief turned to gratitude. Pain turned to mission. And silence turned into stories that could heal. If this story touched your heart, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment sharing how it made you feel, and consider subscribing to our channel, Justice on Paws. Your support helps keep these stories alive, and reminds the world that no life is too small to matter, and no bond too deep to forget. Sometimes, heroes come with wagging tails and worn-out paws. And sometimes, the walls we think are silent hold the cries that only love can hear.